Welcome to this edition of Ask the Preacher. Recently, I came across an article written by Dr. Jack Cottrell, who is one of my professors in my grad work, and someone had asked him the question, did Jesus go to hell to pay for our sins? In this article by Dr. Cottrell, the question is asked, recently, he says, I heard a man say, Jesus went to hell so that you wouldn't have to. Where does this idea come from? Didn't Jesus imply that he was going to paradise when he died in Luke 23:43? Does it not border on blasphemy to say that Jesus went to hell to pay for our sins? His atoning blood is what paid for our sins, not his suffering 3 days in hell, so we wouldn't have to. Have you heard of this before? Here's the answer that Dr. Cottrell gives, and I'm using this because he says it better than I would be able to. There is much confusion on this point. The Venerable Apostles' Creed affirms that he descended into hell. Many take that at face value without questioning it, but not the 1989 United Methodist hymnal, which simply omits this line. Another modern version changes the line to, he descended to the dead. The Bible itself seems to lend support to the idea that Jesus entered hell, especially in the King James translation of Psalm 16:10. For thou wilt not leave my soul in hell. Peter refers to this verse in Acts 2:31, saying of Christ that his soul was not left in hell. 1 Peter 3:19 adds that Jesus went and made proclamation to the spirits now in prison, which is often taken to mean that Jesus entered hell and preached to its inhabitants. Ephesians 4:9 adds that he also had descended into the lower parts of the earth before his ascension into heaven. The phrase he descended into hell was a late addition to the series of creeds that ultimately became the Apostles' Creed, appearing a couple of times in the 4th century AD and added to the final form in the 8th century. This is according to Schaff's book, Creeds of Christendom. There is no real authority in the creed, of course. But what about the Bible passages? Do they give support to this idea? Well, no. The statements in Psalm 16:10 and Acts 2:31 have nothing to do with hell. The place of eternal punishment for the lost, that is hell. The Old Testament word is Sheol. The New Testament word is Hades. These words can mean a place where souls of the wicked reside between death and judgment, but this is only a prelude to hell itself. These words also can mean the grave, as the receptacle of the dead bodies of both the saved and the lost. It is clear that this is the meaning in Psalms and Acts, where the words refer to the grave where Jesus was buried. God did not abandon Jesus after he died and was buried in the grave. He did not allow Jesus' body to suffer decay in Joseph's tomb. The word soul in Psalm 16:10 does not refer to Jesus' human spirit, but to Jesus as such, Jesus the individual or the whole person. In Ephesians 4:9, the lower parts of the earth may also refer simply to the grave as representing Jesus' death, which is his earthly sojourn, which in his earthly sojourn was the low point or nadir that preceded his marvelous exaltation via the resurrection and ascension. See Philippians 2:8 and 9. Ephesians 4:8 does not refer to Jesus entering the realm of the dead in order to finally escort the patient Old Testament saints into paradise with him. The host of captives in that verse are Satan and his demons, which Jesus conquered via his death and resurrection, which are represented here as a column of defeated and shackled enemies being led in a victory march home by the conquering hero. See Psalm 24, 7 through 10. In any case, there is nothing in Ephesians 4:9 about hell. 1 Peter 3:9 is a difficult verse, and it is the only one that can plausibly be taken to mean that Jesus, after his death, had some kind of contact with the spirits of the wicked dead. If it means this, there is still no reference here to Jesus entering hell to pay for our sins. First, this is not hell of eternal punishment. At most, it is Hades, a kind of prison where the dead reside until the day of judgment. Second, the verse does not say when Jesus visited this place. It could have been during the time his body was in the grave, or it could have been during the 40 days between his resurrection and ascension. Third, the purpose of this visit was not redemptive in any sense. He did not go there to suffer punishment of any kind. He went to make an announcement. The verb translated made proclamation is to announce, to proclaim. It is not to announce good news, to preach the gospel. Jesus is there to announce his victory over all his enemies and to seal them in their lost state forever. And so I thank you for asking the preacher, but there's no reason for us to suggest that Jesus went to hell to pay for our sins.